and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is Tuesday? No, it's not Tuesday. It is Tuesday? So why is my book saying it's Wednesday? No, it's not Tuesday. It's Wednesday because I'm with Aaron Green and we're doing the mashup. See, Ali, you off. You are off, Ali, because you don't know the days of the week, and then you confuse me, and you're showing me, pulling up the calendar. I mean, actually showing me the calendar and say, no, Cecil, it's Tuesday, but it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday, January 11th, and it's a little after 11, and we're on the Aaron Green, CA Newry Mash Up Wednesday, as we have a list and a slew of conversations, topics that we want to have a discussion with. But Aaron just came back in because she had to walk down a guest, and I'm going to bait Aaron. Because we, like I said, we have a list of things, right? But I'm going to bait Aaron because I want to talk about majority rule.
I look like an asshole grouper,
but
you won't bait me.
Yeah, I can bait you, And the reason why I want to talk about it, because we had some controversy. Like, who decided to have a holiday on a Tuesday instead of Monday? But that ain't happened. That's not the big issue. The big issue is there was some drama. And I want to talk about the drama with Aaron Green right now, right? Because I want to know who's to blame. Who is to blame for the drama, and is there owed any apology? And what is the big story here? Everyone is talking about the big story is the Dame Marguerite Pinglin chastising, public rebuking the chairman of the PLP, and everyone is talking about the response by the chairman of the PLP in terms of saying, don't worry, matured persons have a right to voice their concerns. But I think, Aaron, that is not the story. The story is whose majority rule, or what is majority rule is about. And the secondary story is the image of Sir Lyndon. So I'm going to start there, and I'm going to basically give my position, and then I want us to have a discussion. Mm-hmm. Okay. For some time, we see that Monique Pinglin has created a foundation, the Lyndon Pinglin Foundation, where they own the rights of the image and the narrative of their father, Sir Lyndon Pinglin. Mm-hmm. The image of Sir Lyndon Pinglin is owned by the Pinglin family. The same as, and I saw that the chairman of the Progressive Party, Fred Mitchell, also commented on this recently, as early as Saturday, said the image of Sidney Poitier, and Sidney Poitier, the anniversary of his death was on January 6th, said it belongs to his widow, Mrs. Poitier, whatever her former name is, and that she wants to control the narrative and the image of Sir Sidney. And I'm not going back, but I want to mention that recently we paid tribute to Sir Sidney, like that was last year, and we use a lot of images, not Bahamian images that we may have owned or had claimed with, but we apparently, more than likely, downloaded some images and say, man, instead of giving a Bahamian narrative, use a foreign narrative and of images that we do not own. Mm-hmm. Right? And I came back a commentary that the widow of Sir Sidney is reminding us that the image belongs to her, and then we cannot necessarily be abusing such. Now, going back to Sir Lyndon, right? Beforehand, the chairman of the Lyndon Pinglin Association, right, mentioned that they want to control the narrative of their father. Right? That you have to seek permission to use his image, seek permission to tell the story.
Tell what story?
The story of their father.
I mean...
No, we can get there. I guess why I baiting you. I'm setting it up so you can respond. Because I see your eyebrows start twitching like you're getting defensive, man. That's dying your daddy.
I see it with my eyes.
But dying your daddy.
I see it with my eyes.
But Aaron, Sir Lyndon ain't your daddy. If the people them say they want to control the image of their daddy, that's their right.
You mean the first Prime Minister of the Bahamas?
Yeah, I get you there. Now, recently, and for past, I would say almost a decade, if not a decade, at least near 10 years, the Progressive Labour Party, and by lead of Fred Mitchell, used to drop off a company, Dame Marguerite Pinglin, to her husband's grave. and it's part of his birthday celebration, and it's also part of the majority rule celebration.
Hold up,
Go ahead. You don't want me to finish the narrative, or you good?
No, I just saying a part of what?
His birthday celebration
And
a part of the majority rule celebration, they would have gone and have some kind of ceremony, some type of ritual at the gravesite. And recently, apparently, either Miss Pinglan was not invited or was not intimately involved. Her name was not listed on the schedule of events, or they have adopted the position of her daughter by saying, no, they ain't want to do that no more. Seek permission. You can't be just going on people's grave site and having ceremonies. You can't be just using people's picture to make a profit. She said, in fact, you are profiteering on my on the legacy of my husband. And this is why I say that they own the legacy, and they think that the Progressive Liberal Party is profiteering on that legacy. And they say, more like you need to pay for that. And my question to you is, as the father of the nation, can the Pinglan family own the rights to Sir Lyndon?
I think the Pinglan family should, in the words of the Honorable Fred Mitchell, be grateful. Like those two words right there.
Be grateful for your own daddy.
I only attribute in those two words to Fred Mitchell. Be grateful that we've allowed them to tell this majority rule story in the way that they've done. I'm trying to figure out, Cecil, when you said a majority rule event, I'm trying to figure out how a church service and a march to Sir Lyndon Pindling's grave and a graveside service amounts to a national commemoration of Majority Rule Day.
And I pause you there because I'm going to correct myself. It was not a national event. It was a PLP event. A national event would say that the government is sponsoring it and the government put it on.
Right,
but that did not happen.
See, because
that did not happen because you saw that, as usual, Fred Mitchell leads this because this is part of who he is. He has an affinity to the former prime minister, and he believes that he should be celebrated and that he evokes that spirit, especially as a chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party. But go ahead.
Right, because I was going to say, when I saw the flyer, like, what is the Pindling family upset about? Because Sir Lyndon Pindling's face was not on the flyer.
No.
There's definitely, his face was not on the flyer. That's a part of it. But the second part is this. Why should his face and his face alone be on the flyer? And why they keep telling the story that Sir Lyndon is the central and only person of importance in the majority rule narrative?
Watch this. You and I are cousins, right? Distant cousins, but we are cousins,
Yeah.
right? You are of the Hasty clan.
Uh-huh.
I am of the Hannah clan. Uh-huh. When you doing your narrative of the Hannah Hasty times, who do you do your narrative of? You do it of Hasty. I do mine of Hannah's, right? So when you said, why is it that they are only celebrating one person? I have a right to celebrate who I want to out of the 18, out of the 20 people. And if I chose one, which happened to be Sir Lyndon.
Who paid for the chairs?
The PLP.
Who paid for the flyer?
The PLP.
Who paid for Mr. Michael Pintard to
Not
come
the
there?
government. Not the government. That's
You
my
sure?
point. I tell you, it was not.
I mean,
because
it could be. I just waiting for the invoice. I mean, they may not have paid.
It was not a government event. It was a private event, and if as a private event, they can celebrate whoever they want.
First of all, nobody acted like that was a private event, but the person who put Fred Mitchell's face on that flyer. Nobody acted like it was a private event.
It's his event. He invite people to his event.
First of all, we need a declaration from the Prime Minister that that was not a national majority rule commemoration or a national government organized event.
Okay.
I think that's the first thing, right?
I hear you. Go ahead.
See, because then it appears as if it's not only the Pindlings that are spinning this narrative. It seems everybody is caught up in spinning this narrative.
But this narrative has been spun for years now. Surely a decade. Every year we go, or they go, to evoke the spirit of Sir Lyndon at the gravesite.
I find that fascinating. You go from Christianity to Obeah in one fell march.
You know, I believe in
I use in the
African
wrong
spiritual-
language.
Yes, you know, I get defensive very
because
quickly.
Obeah is illegal. African spiritual practices are fine.
Yeah.
I get that part. Yeah, I'm disturbed. I expected the majority rule commemorations, right, in the year of the 50th independence anniversary to have been grander in scope and in content than what we experience on Sunday.
Who tells this tale? You said a majority rule contingent. I don't know if there's a national committee
what
that is controlling this narrative.
What I expected would have happened on this particular year with the
I mean, the 50th
right
anniversary of
independence anniversary with the creation of the Independence Secretariat, that the planning and operation of majority rule commemoration and events would have sat with those responsible in the Independence
Look where you
Secretariat,
going.
and they would have set a model for future use in case the Independence Secretariat is disbanded after the 50th anniversary.
But then, by you saying that, I want to commend at least Grand Bahama, because Grand Bahama tied their majority rule celebrations to the 50th anniversary of independence, just that the ones in New Providence decided not to. And of course, because no one decided to have any formal celebration, we see that the member of parliament for Fox Hill continued his celebration and invited other persons to
That's
celebrate.
interesting you said it that way, because I would have said that those who are responsible for creating a national commemoration decided not to make it national and decided to make it partisan political.
No, but
because I'm sure
I'm
the
saying that
PLP,
they weren't involved.
but I'm sure that the PLP administration, because the government is a PLP administration, would have seen the need to focus on a national level event as opposed to a partisan political
But
event.
clearly that didn't happen. I see the caller hang up, but just as about to come to them. As a caller call back to join this conversation. The numbers today are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And I see the caller there. Let's pass the caller through so we can continue this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the image of Sir Lyndon. Who owns that? And do each Bahamian have a right to say, man, I have an Independence Day celebration. I'm going to download Sir Lyndon's picture and put it on my flyers and say, come and celebrate. Or do they need to seek, even them, when I say them, the government also have to seek permission by the Sir Lyndon Pingman Foundation and say, hey, we have a celebration. We want to talk about Sir Lyndon. Can you give us permission to use his image and his narrative?
But we must see, ain't gonna never talk about Sir Lyndon Pinland. Why would I have to? That's like telling me I have to write a letter in triplicate to the a government body to be able to speak to a cabinet minister or an MP.
Yes, you have to.
Who ultimately serves me.
Yep.
Who is ultimately my employee.
That's why we have the speaker of the press secretary now. You're supposed to make an appointment so you can have the meeting. But let's go to the caller. Go ahead, caller. You're passionate, true?
Call me David is talking away along with you and Aaron Newry.
How you doing, man? Welcome,
morning.
Raymond.
Now, I want to ask a couple of questions, right? Several questions. Is it majority ruled or majority ruled or majority rules? And if it were a national holiday pertaining to the majority whatsoever, it's supposed to be held in the state church. Okay? So, Aaron, I agree with you, You're right on it. But our people need to be educated in the proper way in this Bahamas. And we need justice, law, and order in this Bahamas instead of screwing up the narrative. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Bremen. And I wanted to thank you very much, Bremen. I wanted to correct Bremen. There is no state church of the Bahamas.
You sure it ain't Christ Church Cathedral?
No, I'm sure there's no state church because there's no state religion
You
of
sure?
the Bahamas. I'm sure of it. Britain has a state church because the head of the church there is the Queen.
You know that the
but
Queen
there
is
no
you know
state
that
church
hold
of
on,
the
but
Bahamas.
you know the same Queen is the Queen of the Bahamas. She's not the Queen of England, and then we're part of the Commonwealth. She's the Queen of the Bahamas.
And she's not in charge or head of even the Anglican Church in the Bahamas. They're an independent body. This is why there's no church state, because the Anglican community here is independent of the Church of England. That system what he hinting toward is not suitable or does not come here. But I want to still speak on the
So hold on.
Go ahead.
My Anglican Church, I'm not subject to the King. I mean, I okay with it.
No,
I thought I was.
No, we are independent. Anglicans are an independent body.
How could we be an independent body if he's the King of England? If he's
The church is an independent body. What you're talking about the church and you're talking about the state and you keep on confusing them. The church itself is an independent body with its own head. We have our own bishop. The bishop of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Island is independent of the Church of England.
So we just our own Anglican church.
It's our own Anglican church. And of course, you have the Episcopalian Church in the United States that is independent also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay. But I see we have a call again.
Yeah.
Because we still want to talk about the image of Sir Lyndon and getting permission to use it moving forward. And is that the debate that was happening? Is that what got Dean Marguerite upset?
It couldn't have been because ain't nobody uses image at all, eh? I mean, with their pamphlets and flyers at the event with his picture on
but see,
it.
but that's by extension. The idea is going to the graveyard and having a ceremony on his grave. And what she said that they're profiteering of his legacy. That's why I'm using the word image. His legacy, which includes his image, this narrative, they're profiteering of that. And she and her family, and like I said, her daughter, Monique Penguin Johnson, complained about it before and has asked people not to use.
I with
the
them.
image
I for that. In fact, we don't have to call his name ever again because it turns out that he probably isn't the hero of majority rule anyway.
Feelings and thing, man.
No, I ain't catching feelings. I catching history. It's cool. We don't need to use his image at all. Not his picture, not his name. In fact, every time somebody call his name, charge them 25 cents so we don't never use his name again.
I'm going to go to the call and then when I ask you, Aaron.
Yeah.
So who is this hero of the majority rule? Because you're hinting that he's not
I'm
the hero.
supposed to put an S on the end.
Okay, heroes then. I can let you go, but then after the call, and it's all you. You. Go ahead, caller.
Caller,
can you hear me?
Good morning, Ms. Green.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Mr. Newry, I disagree with you.
Go ahead.
In one thing, I got one, like Raymond said, I got one or two comments to make. We are all Bahamians. I'm trying to find out the same thing because guess what? As long as we are a member of the Commonwealth of Nations, Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and so forth, the Queen is still head of church and state. That happened from King Henry VIII time when he broke off from the Catholic Church and the Pope. He became
You know the Anglican bishop addressed this earlier, right?
He became head of church and state.
I'm just saying that the Anglican bishop addressed it and corrected it.
We are still a member of the Commonwealth. Unless we go republic, the Queen is still head of church. There is still one pew and at the front of Christ Church Cathedral that has a staff with the crown on it. Whenever the king or queen comes to the Bahamas, they only go to one church. They don't go to Montego. They don't go to St. Margaret's. They don't go to the Catholic Church. They go to Christ Church Cathedral. The Queen sits there at the front pew on the southern side. When the Queen is there, the only person that's supposed to sit in that seat is the Governor General, the representative of the Queen. Now, when it comes down to yesterday, I wanted to know if majority rule is the majority of the Bahamian people. Is it a PLP holiday? Is it a Bahamian holiday? Is it a church holiday? I thought it was a Bahamian holiday. We don't have to go to Mr. Penland's grave. We could go there on his birthday, like Fred and them do on his birthday, and honor him and Miss Penland. On a majority rule day, we could go to Milo Butler's mausoleum. We could go to A.D. Hanna. We could go to any of the past fathers of the nation and honor the majority rule day because all of them fought. Some of them turned F&M, but they were all PLP when majority rule came in. You understand where I'm coming from? And I think, and this is just my opinion, I think when it comes to the Penland family, they have been honored more than any family in this country forever. Okay, Miss Penland is the wife of the first prime minister. She became a governor general. She's still having a show for her perks and everything. She sits in the front seat of any church she goes to. She's been honored. We love her. We always will love her. But we don't love only the Penland family. We have honored them all our lives. Their children are living good. They had the best education. But there are other families in this country that built this nation. We had the taxi drivers, the waitresses, the straw vendors. Everybody built this nation, not just the Penland family. We don't only honor them. And I'm tired of that foolishness. We don't have to bow down to them for the rest of our lives. My mother and father and everybody around here worked to build this country as well. They had enough, and they're still getting paid every doggone thing. They're still getting pensions, everything. Just all the other governor generals, when they retired, our time, Chris, Adiana, I be doing on them. They went allowed quietly, and they stay in retirement, and they visit whenever people invite them.
I see. He ran hard. But I understand the sentiment. I still maintain there's no church. We're not a church state because we're not a Christian Anglican state. We have Christian principles, and that's why I say there's no. The Queen is not head of a church here. I say good morning. The Queen/King is still the head of the state church. There's no state church like which is Anglican in the Bahamas. No, I disagree. But go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah,
you were trying to say who were the heroes of.
Well, here's what I'm saying, right? You can't, if it can only be Pinling, then it might as well be nobody. If it could only be Pinling. How is it that we've come to the place where Pinling is the single central character in the majority rule story?
But who caused that, Aaron?
Well, this is why I am getting the impression now that the telling of a singular story, the demanding of the telling of a singular story. And so yesterday, on Monday, I asked the question, right? Is it that the FNM refused to acknowledge majority rule as a national political event? Or is it that the PLP have never treated majority rule as anything but a partisan PLP political event? Right? And at this point, I think both administrations, not parties, both administrations have fault because neither of them, the FNM when they are responsible for the government, the PLP when they're responsible for the government, neither of them have taken the time to explain to document a history and to explain to the people why.
And I hear you, Aaron, but is that the government's role or job or duty? They give you the holiday and say celebrate. However you decide to celebrate, it's what you celebrate. Same thing with independence. They give you the holiday and say celebrate. Christmas is a holiday and they say celebrate. There's no national program for the celebration.
Who is responsible for creating the curriculum?
UB.
History curriculum
UB.
around majority rule.
UB should be putting on things. I assume they did it again. Some type of educational program to explain. We have a whole director of culture. What the director of culture name again? The white boy, Curry. Surely he has gone on the radio station.
He's
chairman of what? AMMC.
Dr. Chris Curry. You're right. He's the chairman of the Antiquities, Monuments and Museums Corporation.
Surely he sent people out to explain again majority rule and explain how we should celebrate it and give the name. So there's going to be one narrative. There's not one PLP narrative. If the PLP want to celebrate one particular type of way, who are we to say no, you're wrong? Why didn't the FNM say we have 4 members of our party?
I can tell you who we are to say they're wrong. Only Fred Mitchell's face was on the flyer.
Only Fred Mitchell won't celebrate.
And the flag was
only him won't celebrate.
But yet hundreds of people went out there
follow him
on the government
That's
dime.
how powerful and dynamic he is that he got people to follow him. No one else doing anything. I mean, that's how bad and what I call piss poor we are. We have a big major holiday, a mark of democracy, a civil rights holiday, and nobody decided to celebrate it.
Listen,
it's one of those things you say, yeah, we just do.
Another caller.
I see we get another caller.
Let's go to that caller before I call Samilo Butler name.
Call Samilo Butler name. Go ahead, caller.
Aaron, good day. Cecil, happy New Year to y'all two in the studio.
Blessings.
Morning.
Morning. Listen, I want to say something, and I want to piggyback or something with Sparky. And Aaron, y'all know me. I don't piggyback off nobody.
Mm-hmm.
It's high time the party that I support, which is the Progressive Liberal Party, some of these old people need to sit down.
I hope you don't talk about Miss
Mr. Mitchell
Bingley.
alluded to something yesterday, the new generation. And I'm not saying put the older set of people on the side, but Ms. Green and Mr. Newry and the Progressive Liberal Party, and y'all could get mad with me today for saying it on the radio. Some of y'all old people need to go sit down, go spend time with your grandchildren. You need to be more
respectful.
Go take trips, go and sit down.
You need to be more respectful to our senior citizens.
We're going to cater to y'all. It's being respectful, but Mr. Newry, you can't expect to want to be a part of an organization and you 70, 80, 90, go sit down.
You need to be more respectful for our national heroes.
Go sit. Mr. Newry, understand what I'm saying to you.
I hear you. I just say you kind of flippant.
to you in the party that I support 110%, some of the people, like Mr. Mitchell said, it's a new generation of people with new ideas. They're not pushing the old ideas on the side. You can't forget where you come from, because without a past, there will be no future. But too much of people in this country believe that the government owe them the rest of their life.
Do it.
It's not. It's no. That needs to stop.
Do it. Cecil think me and you is grouper, man. Don't watch nothing.
That needs to stop, Aaron. That needs to stop in this country.
Yes.
And I am sick and tired of being a part of the Progressive Liberal Party, that they don't want to make room for the new breed of people with new ideas. Ain't nobody into this colonialistic mentality of some of these people, and they know. I will tell them in a decent, respectable way. Go sit down. Go play with your grandchildren or go retire. You retire, get your retirement money, take a trip, go on a cruise, do something.
I appreciate you doing it. Let me prick Aaron.
Y'all have a good day.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Aaron. You go and call your listen names. I want to hear this listen names you talking about.
Yeah, but before that, you see, there's a play at hand here. Because for a second there, Fred Mitchell almost made you think that he was young, that he wasn't one of them older, senior, respected people that you must just let run on when they want to run on.
Oh, okay.
For a second there, Fred Mitchell almost convinced us that he wasn't a part of the 310 gang too.
But you must at least give him credit that he is responsible for ushering a new generation of PLPs. He is the mentor for all of the young liberals.
That's a good thing.
And well, any kind of young talent and coming in the PLP will be coming from him.
You remember what December 31st is?
December 31st.
That's Declaration Day.
Yeah, uh-huh.
That's your disclosure.
It's disclosed on time, eh?
What about the rest of the
We
new day
still don't know.
government that
We
he's
don't know
leading
who,
into the future?
We don't know who didn't disclose.
Right, but we're supposed to know by December 31st.
We have a prime minister who knows everyone who disclosed.
And we have a chairman of the party whose job it is to keep his people in line and make them toe
the leader
the
of the
line.
party is responsible for enforcing the law.
No. The
If there is
chairman
any,
of the party is responsible for internal
if there is any
issues.
charges for the police to investigate because they know it's a criminal offense, the leader of the opposition and leader, the prime minister, is the one who's going to report it, not the chairman.
Well, it's not going to be the chairman of the actual committee because he liked to make excuses for people who should have known that their declaration date is December 31st.
I want to know, before we go back to...
the list? You want the list?
Yes, Dean Marguerite and the Fred Mitchell debacle and the exchange they had. And when she said, I spoke to the prime minister, should know I could be vexed, and I told him I was going to be nice. I'm not sure. It seems as if they had a conversation before about this, and that he told us, hey, calm down, I can solve this for you. And she just couldn't take it anymore. Because he said, Jesus, I got to speak. The woman said, she called on the Lord, Aaron. So the things was vexing her so much, she called on Jesus and said, Jesus, hold my tongue because she got to speak. And I want to know what vexed her so. Go ahead, Aaron. What's your list of people who should be celebrated?
Well, first of all, how could you talk about majority rule without talking about Samilo Butler?
What about him? The DM said before Sir Lyndon, none of those people matter. I heard her. I have the speech. She said only when Sir Lyndon came about, things started to happen. You won't listen to her speech, eh?
Oh, I heard it.
Yeah, didn't she say that?
I mean, that's what she said.
This is why we go to the graveyard.
I mean, there's plenty of things we used to do at the graveyard. Beryl Hannah.
And I believe that she needs to be celebrated more because of the sacrifice and dedication she gave to her husband. But the same way how...
Beryl Hannah gone down there and convinced them people that the Queen sent her to tell them to vote for majority rule.
Especially as a white woman, a white English woman. But she has a whole family, children, who has not done or equal what the Sir Lyndon family is doing. They need to form a association, federation of, say, association, that propels the history of their mother and father.
I mean,
that's what we
the father's reputation speaks for itself.
Yeah, but is there any celebration?
He set a model for what the modern politician should look like, despite the fact that they disregard it.
Yeah, and they call him the father of independence, but that legacy and that story isn't coming out adequately at this present time. So I find fault in them.
Cecil Wallace Whitfield.
What about Cecil?
He took Marguerite to South Andrews so she could nominate just in case Pinland didn't.
And that too is something that should have been discussed for majority rule. And she put that center stage, said that she by herself is significant enough and is a part of the national narrative because she was prepared to run. She was responsible for the campaign in South Andros. So she is definitely a part of the majority rule narrative. And she made that clear and saying that she, again, is not being recognized and there's more than her husband that should be spoken about.
And hopefully history will tell us eventually, was she a Nancy Reagan or was she a Hillary Clinton?
What?
Was she a Nancy Reagan or was she a Hillary Clinton?
You will have to
Both
explain that.
formidable wives of U.S. presidents. Some regard them as the greatest, some as the most entertaining presidents in the U.S. But it turns out that for the vast majority of Reagan's time in the administration, it was Nancy who was making the decisions. It was Nancy that was leading the helm. It was Nancy that was running the country, at least doing Ronald's job. In the same way, once Hillary Clinton hit the stage as Secretary of State, I think the whole world realized that Hillary Clinton was a far more formidable politician than her husband was. And so the question remains, should Dame Marguerite Pindling be put on this list? For most of all, doing the most Bahamian thing, which is letting your good husband take the glory when you know that you are the reason for the story.
Yes.
What about Randall Fox? I mean, what about, let's stick a pin with Randall Fox. What about Alvin Brannan?
And that narrative is not being told or celebrated enough. Can you imagine a Conky Joe Bahamian deciding to in a apartheid culture at that time, history, decided to break ranks of his friends and family and business partners and sided with a black majority for the benefit of the Bahamas.
For the whole.
For the whole.
Yeah.
And he's not celebrated and touted as the epitome of majority rule. Something is wrong with that narrative. And I blame the Bahamian people because his face should be plastered all over the place. His legacy, his family name, write-ups should be happening. But no, it's not happening.
Right.
And I blame us for that.
And then there's women's suffrage movement and all those.
What about them? They voted UBP when they had
The first time.
Yeah, that's right. I forgive them for that. Them women, I know what
So
happens
you
when you
ain't
give women votes.
so you ain't upset. You upset, but you ain't gonna acknowledge that all of these housekeepers would go to work in these white man and phenotypically white man house. Phenotypically white means that you could pass.
You could pass. But white enough.
In their house to wig made and to white bottoms and to clean toilets, but they had their PLP shirt on underneath their uniform, and as soon as the bell ring, they ripped that open like little school children freed from this oppressive apartheid education system. That ain't worth celebrating.
I just remember last time they voted UBP. I still stuck on that.
The old man could get stuck though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I say women's suffrage movement, but most of all, I say Randall Fox.
Randall Fox is a hero. And the story of the blank check is only his narrative, and he put that he got a blank check. No one actually see it, but I give it as a fact. I give it as a fact. But again, his family has controlled his narrative. They also have a Randall Fox Foundation. That's the word I was looking for. That protects the legacy and the name, and they lend out artifacts for it. And we need these people who names you call for their families to form a foundation that we will continue to evoke their spirit and their names, and that is not happening at this present time.
But why should their families alone be responsible for that when we spending money that could be used to support those initiatives to go rent chairs to go sit next to Pinlin's grave? And Obeah is illegal.
I still say
and
Fred
Rasta
Mitchell paid for
can't
that.
chant down Babylon without police running up on them.
We have another caller here. Producer Patch the caller through, and Rasta's chant down Babylon still. No, yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. Still.
They chant me down all the time.
Go ahead, Ali. Patch the caller through.
Hey, good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing well, man.
Good, thank you.
Happy New Year.
Blessings.
Hey, we got Poppy here. We got to keep Reverend C.B. Moss in our prayers.
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
sir.
And CB Moss is also a hero of majority
National
rule.
hero. When I think about C.B. Moss, he always remind me of people like Celine and Penland. Serious person who really care about people. So yes, he's a national hero. Just want to encourage people to keep him in prayers.
Thank you.
This story about with Lady Penland, a national hero. I think Lady Penland is a national hero now.
Okay.
Different from PLP is, generally speaking, even F&Ms, we love Lady Penland. We thank God that she still have all her senses and she can talk and speak her mind. She's strong with us. She well connected with us. Some people might believe that she should shut up and go sit down and go chill out with her grandchildren. But politically, she is strong in this country, and women and men and young people be proud to have someone like Lady Penland and the Penland family inside the history of the Bahamas. So I just want people like Lady Penland to know Loftus Rokas, the Eddie Hanna family. We respect them. You say you're standing on these people's shoulders. Now they're too old. You're telling them to go sit down and shut up and go chill out with their grandchildren. Have some respect.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Lady Penland, man. And Papa said that y'all keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Papa.
Thank you.
And clearly, Dame Marguerite has earned the respect and adoration of the entire Bahamas for her dedication and her sacrifice in terms of lending her husband without complaining to the entire Bahamas. And in fact, she worked in terms of the campaign and in terms of putting in work. So definitely, she deserved the right to critique the government and to give commentary on what she thinks is right or wrong.
And I just remember, this is a former governor general.
The
absolute head of the country.
Yes.
I ain't mad at her.
No, you can't be mad at her.
I invoke the spirit of her when I have to tell some people some things.
And she's still strong.
Yeah.
And the idea that as a matured woman, that she could be so passionate and can have the gravitas and have persons respond to her with her charisma and charm, that's something that should be celebrated. And you smile and say, go there, Dame. We see you. We see you. And we must remember that and endear that also.
And listen, and the commentary is not does not intend to defame or demean Sir Lyndon Penland. His contributions. I tell the story all the time. Sir Lyndon Penland is a fundamental part of my identity as a Bahamian, because when I was volunteering, something that I had started doing as a young child, right? Sir Lyndon saw that and rewarded that, myself and all of the volunteers, right? And so nobody dissing Sir Lyndon Penland. But the question is, can we continue this singular story that Sir Lyndon Penland is the be-all and end-all of majority rule?
But I see it's time for a break. And then when we come back, I want to ask you this, Aaron. I want to ask you this. Besides who all who should be celebrated, there is who should apologize. That's the question I want. The Dame asked, say she is owed an apology, and she wanted the chairman of the Progressive Party to apologize. But the leader was there. The leader knew beforehand that she was uneasy about these things happening, because she said, I know I promised you, Mr. Prime Minister, that I wasn't going to talk about this, but I moved to talk about it. He knew she was vexed.
How you could bait me at the break?
I got to bait you at the break so we can come back with passion.
Yeah, man.
But she knew, and he ain't say nothing. And I hear he's doctor now anyway. But anyway, Dr. Philip Davis, they
Dr. Brave.
That's what they introduced him as. I read to man, no one said a word. Like, where you get Dr. Grief? Anyway.
So they going to have an upgraded clinic in Cat Island?
Soon. But this has been Guardian Radio in the AM with Aaron Green from
On the Clock. And this is Mashup Wednesday. And we have a discussion right now about a majority rule and what happened, what went down, and why the Dame was so vexed. But we'll be right back.
J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents are the best. Reliable service, we've been on the scene, protecting since 1919. J.S. Johnson Insurance has the test. You're always covered me. J.S. Johnson Insurance, peace of mind.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio in the AM with C.A. Newry. And of course, Aaron Green is with me. But from On the Clock, as we have our mashup Wednesdays, and we're discussing again majority rule. Mm-hmm. And Aaron believed that there should be more people added inside this narrative. And I said, okay, I have no problem with that. And she's saying that the people who were in charge are just focusing on one person. And I said, the persons who did this event want to focus on one person. And if you want to focus on the other two and the other four, you go do it. You can't be faulting me if I want to focus on one person, if I want to focus on
normally that's a reasonable answer, right? Mm-hmm. You're in a free country, free speech. You are free to honor, memorialize anybody you want. But when the chairman of the PLP creates and organizes an event and does not make it pellucidly clear that it is not a national event put on by the government, but it is a partisan political event put on by a particular party, the PLP party, then we have a problem.
What the folks' family doing? You think they celebrated majority rule, or they just don't care?
I don't know if I would be able. I don't know if I would be able to celebrate it with.
I didn't celebrate it with other people. No, I said, what they doing?
Because
you have any event they doing for majority rule?
No, I didn't.
What about Eddie Hanna family? All the people, they ain't do nothing.
And apparently, Pinland's family didn't do anything either. So we still all in the same boat.
So thank God for Fred Mitchell. He's the only one who's celebrating this. You see how to come back that he is the only one who's saying that this event.
But what are we celebrating? Is it
cancel the whole holiday?
Is it a good
cancel
thing
the whole holiday?
A lie.
I think what we need to do is do like what Conky Joe Bahamians do on Independence Day.
And just stay home?
Stay home and go on the beach. Just this formal celebration thing.
So Rodney Mucker is the leader of the women's dem and the Conky Joe people too.
We have a caller right here. Let's pass the caller.
Question mark.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning.
The irony right now is I'm actually in front of the graveyard where the mausoleum is right now looking at it.
You doing a ritual? You doing a ritual?
I'm actually parked and looking at the mausoleum.
Yes, sir. Don't mind him.
Yeah. Let me say this much. I think we need to clear a misconception out here that only presumably the PLP celebrate majority rule, even though it is clearly said by many that the F&M party was against, even against independence. Mm-hmm. So it could go down quite easily to say that anything that the PLP may have tried to institute, the F&M was against. And not even being an F&M, I'm looking at it from a certain perspective to try and bring balance here. Let's look at this thing. There are many F&Ms who and DNAs and COIs and all these other persons who are affiliated with parties will categorically agree that, yes, the PLP had, through Linden and the first cabinet, was very instrumental in instituting Majority Rule Day. The problem I have, though, is even though, a person like me can understand what the intent may have been, we are not celebrating what the true intention of Majority Rule Day is in this country. So what is there to celebrate? The only time Majority Rule actually comes into play is during our election season. And I keep saying it, the one man, one vote rule. Outside of that, there's nothing here to celebrate but Majority Rule. We have to fix this concept. We really have some very serious work to do. And lastly, I think Lady Marguerite, Dame Marguerite Penling is absolutely spot on. It's because if her feeling is that doing this service or doing this celebration at the mausoleum is using it as a stepping stone why hasn't the government then created a unifying force by having the celebration on Clifford Park, or the People's Park?
They ain't want to celebrate.
But this is what I'm saying. So why is there the disjointedness, whereas allowing every Bahamian to come and celebrate majority rule, whether you're a free national movement, whether you're a coalition of independence, whether you're DNA or whomever, as long as you're a Bahamian.
Jeffrey, they don't want to celebrate.
I understand that.
I don't want to go to no graveyard to celebrate nothing.
Because you don't do African rituals. That's right,
well,
see?
Okay. Well, in closing, let us fix this problem once and for all. The celebrations for next year, yeah, for those who may want to pay homage to Sir Lyndon.
No, that cancel.
No. Let me just finish.
No, that cancel. That happening no more. No more we going to the mausoleum. We ain't mentioning name. We ain't getting any picture without getting permission from the foundation.
Okay, well, let me just say this. For those who want to celebrate him, because he was the prime minister at the time, he was the father of the nation at the time, after the ecumenical service, if I could call it that, on Clifford Park, if you want to go to the mausoleum to pay homage, then let's allow those persons to go and pay homage. But as far as this holiday is concerned, this is a national holiday, not a PLP holiday. Let's fix it. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Aaron, you see, he still won't go to the mausoleum. I mean, I trying to get from the graveyard and thing, and
No,
he
man,
still
here,
won't go to the man graveyard. The wife says she don't want no one to the graveyard. They just pay to keep that clean.
Listen, you can't stop people from going and visiting other people's graves.
What you mean you can't stop people from going to visit your people's
Is it a
grave?
private graveyard?
No, it's not a private
Well,
graveyard.
there you go then. Be good. Be fine. There you all right.
So you saying that Minister Fred Mitchell can go there at night and go to the mausoleum and the family can't see nothing?
He could take dirt, he could bring dirt, he could do whatever he want there. Ain't nobody could tell him nothing.
So why the DM complaining? If anyone could go there.
I mean, I think she made her commentary very clear, even for those who can only infer. She said that the PLP was using her husband as a stepping stone.
So the PLP don't own the father of the nation? Or can she say about the Bahamas? That the Bahamas, the government is using her husband's legacy as a stepping stone, even though he's the father of the nation?
She can't say the government is using it. I mean, because the government, you have to talk about the first prime minister. I mean, how could you?
So she don't necessarily own they. I'm going to say she, I mean they.
How
the
could
family
they? How could
cannot
they?
really necessarily own the image and the legacy. It belongs to all of us. So if I want to have a Sir Lyndon Pinglan event at my church, I don't have to ask no permission to say, hey.
You shouldn't have to.
Just have it.
And I mean, okay, here's what I'm saying. There should be a couple of stock images of Pinland that we should all be able to have access to free of charge. Should I be able to go into find the family archives and take a picture of them on the beach with him in his swim trunks and Marguerite in a bathing suit and the children eating sand? No. You should have to pay to use an image like that. But this is the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the first Prime Minister of the Bahamas, and there should be a set of images that the public should be able to have access to. Now, in terms of generating a profit and making money off of his image, like putting it on a T-shirt or putting it on a book, we got to be careful there. And what's the purpose of doing it? Right? I think that you could arrange a mechanism there. Are you okay with that? But this idea that you control the image and thus you control the story, no, sir. It cannot work.
I'm watching. I know Monique made me happy with what you're talking about now. But I see just recently the chairman of the PLP, Mr. Mitchell, mentioned that Sir Sidney, a wife saying, man, you can't be using his image like that. Because I see you all had it splattered all over the bridge. All over the bridge, you all had them private photographs what don't belong to any Bohemian photographer. And we take advantage of it. You should bridge it. All the photographs would be.
So you mean the company that was hired and contracted to construct that display didn't receive the authorization necessary to use those images?
Because this is the Bahamas.
So you shouldn't stop school children from using it, and you shouldn't stop schools from using it. But if you're going to use the image to generate a profit, then there should be an issue, and the government should have taken care of all of that.
But we know better now. We know better
Me
now.
and you know better.
Well, wait, next time when they doing it again and they trying to put up those photographs, especially those foreign photographs, because we have Bahamian photographs they ain't put up no. They ain't put up no Bahamian
Listen,
one.
make the independent secretariat a permanent structure and put all events like these under their purview. Create a standard, a sustainable standard for all national level events. The first thing is this, Dear Bahamas, how you could have a majority rule celebration at a Christian church and not have an interfaith prayer, not invite the other Bahamians of other faiths to participate with you. How you could do that and call yourself a nation, a sovereign nation.
So you're trying to say the next majority rule holiday of church service can't be at St. Agnes no more?
It can be at St. Agnes. It has to contain
That's where
an
the
interfaith.
former prime minister church was.
Listen, I was born into 3 dynasties.
That's where Marguerite Church
Apparently,
is.
I was born into 3 dynasties, and there's nothing I could do about
You
it.
will move
I was
it
born a
from St.
Anglican.
Agnes?
I was born a Saxons, and apparently they tell me I was born a PLP.
That's all
But that
St.
don't
Agnes
mean
have.
nothing.